Hit me.
From Studio P in Sausalito, the home of the hit, it's time for...
Succotash.
Yes, Succotash, the comedy soundcast featuring snippets from comedy.
Soundcast.
And also interviews with comedians, comedian soundcasters, and other showbiz folk. And now, here's your host, internationally recognized comedy soundcaster, Mark Hershaw.
Mark
Welcome to another installment of Succotash, the comedy soundcast. This is episode 342, and each week we're edging ever closer to April 2023, which will mark the 12th anniversary of this damn show. I'm your every other weekly host, Mark Hershaw, and I want to thank everyone who's taken time out to Venmo us donations to keep this show going. Our grand total since first announcing that we'd be accepting funds through Venmo a couple of months back is zero. Zip. Zilch. Apparently, you guys aren't really fans of commercial-free content. And no, I don't count our phony Henderson's Pants ads as real ads. So, we're going to stop beating the Venmo drum. Instead, this week starts my concerted effort, finally, after all these years, to find this show some real paying sponsors. A lot of the shows that we feature, well, they have commercials, so why shouldn't we? It's high time that me and our co-host Tyson Sainer start to see some kind of return for cranking this thing out every week, don't you think? So, if you're interested in sponsoring Succotash, just email our sales team at ads@succotashshow.com. There. Done. The aforementioned Tyson was here last week with Epi342, a show entitled Cartoons, Shakespeare, and Tinseltown. A show that included a trio of clips from the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast, Willie Shakers, and the Hollywood Experience. You can still grab that handful of Succotash from your favorite Soundcast distribution points, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and so many others, not the least of which is our home site, succotashshow.com. That's also where our archive lives, with over 11 years of clips and chats. I myself have a February Foursome of Clips in store for you this episode. We'll be hearing from Extra Nuggets, Hollywood Gold, and The Downside, as well as from a show that we've featured before. One of the hosts is not just a friend of Succotash, but a close personal friend of mine, and that I have appeared on this show several times, including just last week. It's Monster Party. We had a great time talking about, well, you'll hear about it in just a minute. This week's episode, until we can find some sponsors with some real money to bring to the table, is still brought to you by Henderson's Pants, Timely Parka Pants. Just the stuff to keep your chilly getaway sticks from snapping off in the cold. With nothing further to delay the inevitable, let's get right into the clips.
This program deals with themes of an adult nature and is intended for a mature audience.
Let's get this Succotash party started with what I was just talking about a moment ago. The Monster Party Soundcast. The four gents behind this show came up with the idea when they were crashing in a hotel at the San Diego Comic-Con a number of years ago. As they partied and got increasingly blotto, their discussion turned into a loud argument about what monster or sci-fi or superhero or action movie, TV show, or comic book was better than the other. Realizing that this was a nerd goldmine idea sure to get them laid, the Fab Foursome, Matt Weinhold, Shawn Sheridan, Larry Strothe, and James Gonis kicked off their show. I've had the pleasure of being a guest a number of times, and just last week was the latest. Their topic? Superhero Obscura. Namely, digging up some of the most forgotten and unknown comic book heroes ever to don a cape. Since I was the guest of honor, I sliced out a snippet where I talked about the mysterious and forgotten Captain Marvel. No, not that one. The other one. No. The other one. Never mind. You'll see.
Mark, back to you, buddy. Why don't you give us another
one? All right. I'm going to bring up a hero you guys probably have not heard of before. Captain Marvel.
Well, no, but I know there are several different Captain Marvels.
Yes.
Though.
There are. There's the Captain Marvel that we know from that became Shazam because of a lawsuit.
Right.
There's Marvel's Captain
MCU's
Marvel.
Captain Marvel, right?
And
Awesome.
there's giant action issue Captain Marvel.
Mhm.
Captain Marvel, yes, from 1966 from MF Enterprises. And this Captain Marvel had the ability to separate parts of his body.
Ooh.
Yeah. Didn't he like when he would say split?
Split. He would go split. And his arms and legs and head and chest would all go off separately. And what I love is, I don't know if you can see in the illustration on this cover here, but one of these guys looks like Stan Lee from bottom.
Mark, wasn't this the result of the lawsuit? The name Captain Marvel became available for shortly and somebody snatched it up. I think it's the guy who did Eerie Publications.
Myron Fass.
Yeah. Like he was a shrewd businessman. He saw that opportunity to take advantage of that copyright.
It's like when they made that Fantastic Four film because the rights were available for a short period of time.
Oh. Right. Yeah.
So anyway,
what
Captain Marvel,
what a strange
seems
superpower.
awful. Just seems like an awful guy. Although it's funny because they used that power. That was in the Suicide Squad movie. The Nathan Fillion played that character that could separate his arms.
Yeah, that's right.
I forget what they called him, the something kid.
You're right.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's almost like they borrowed it from that Captain Marvel character. But anyway, it's just so interesting that some of these names, people go, let's call our guy Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
That's
totally.
amazing.
Especially since there was already a huge comic line called Marvel.
Yes.
The fact it just gets so confusing. You thought, oh yeah, Captain Marvel, they named it after their company. Like it's weird. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and then in Britain, there was Marvel Man, who was basically their ripoff of Captain Marvel.
No.
Yeah, right?
Marvel Man?
Right, James?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
did a British flag on him or something? Or?
Well, no, it was just a kind of very similar costumes even, and it was the Marvel Man family. Kid Marvel Man and Aunt Marvel Man, and and so they had this group of characters, and they were dopey comics. But then later, Alan Moore got a hold of them and revamped it into this serious kind of dark take on the Shazam story. And it's one of my favorite comics of all time. But
Is that Miracle Man?
They had to change the name.
They had to change the name, right?
Because it was too much like Marvel, so they changed it into Miracle Man.
Wow.
Which is being made into a movie, I understand.
It is, really.
I think so.
Can't wait.
Wow. That's such a weird, convoluted history with that.
Yeah.
They should make like a new movie where they get kind of like they did with the Spider-Man movie. They get all the Spider-Mans from the different franchises, just like Marvel Mania, and they just put all the Captain Marvel characters together and fight.
God, I just like to see the lawyers fighting that one out. That would be the movie.
Split my fee.
Man, I love those guys. They're always so fun. And I'm going to have them on Succotash in the very near future, so stay tuned. You can get your Monster Party wherever Soundcast are streamed and or downloaded, including their home site at monsterpartypodcast.libsyn, that's libsyn.com, or just go to our home site, succotashshow.com, where you will always find clickable links to the shows and also all the hosts and guests' socials, at least the ones we can find. Some people are not on social media, and God bless them for that choice. At a couple dozen episodes under her belt, the host of Hollywood Gold Soundcast, Daniela Taplin-Lundberg, a movie producer in her own right, interviews other producers and filmmakers to help us look under the hood of some of the films we know and love. I grabbed a clip from an episode that dropped last month where she focused on the movie The Big Sick, written by Kumail Nanjiani and Emily V. Gordon, which is a fantastic, kind of surprise, hit from 6 years ago. 6 years ago? Yes, that was 2017. Crazy. Anyway, she caught up with her old friend and the director of this movie, Michael Showalter, to deep dive into how this movie got made. The clip that you're about to hear is about some of the casting of the film and the process of getting it down in the funny, touching, sweet style that he did.
Once you had the financing in place, had you already started casting, or were you guys waiting for that to happen? Do you remember?
We were waiting.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we got the financing first, and then we went about casting the movie. And we knew we wanted Ray Romano. We knew we wanted Holly Hunter. Judd knew Holly Hunter a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
and then also knew Ray Romano a little bit. And so like, that's the amazing thing. One of many amazing things about Judd Apatow is his ability to, you say Holly Hunter and Ray Romano, and then 2 seconds later, they're both in the movie. And it's like, oh my God.
Right.
We did cast the Emily role.
Yeah.
And so we met with a bunch of actors on that, and Zoe Kazan, who was, I think, someone that was on people's mind. There was an excitement factor there about her already, but she also did come in on audition and was incredible. And then we were cast, and then casting A.D. Bryant and Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham. So like, I just watched the movie again yesterday, Michael, and it's so good. It's so
thanks.
good. It's so authentic and like naturalistic. Like the humor just like feels not forced.
Yeah.
And I just realized you have become, I remember Peter Kujawski described you as this at your last movie premiere, but such a humanist filmmaker where you just like allow things to happen. They feel organic, they feel real. And that it really felt like you were laying track for that there. So good.
Thanks, Dan.
So tell me about the process of making it. Was it very easy? Was it complex?
I think we knew we had a really good script.
Yeah.
We had worked so hard on the script, and I kind of credit Barry Mendel. I don't kind of credit Barry Mendel. I do credit Barry Mendel and Judd. Barry was the sort of more boots on the ground there every day, but them both for like being like, we're not going to make this movie until the script is ready. And as we all know, that doesn't always happen.
Yep.
There's all sorts of other things that go into it. But because they were like, we're not going to make this movie until this movie is ready to get made.
Yeah.
And the script is done.
Yeah.
So we had a really good script going in, I felt.
Yeah.
And that more than anything, I think is like if you have a really good script going in, like that's, 90% of the work is right there. But we were very low budget movie shooting in New York City in the summer. And so it was a tight shoot. Every day was, hot and cramped and, racing the clock. And as we all know, like Judd likes to do lots of takes. And so there was a lot of improvising and sort of playing with the scenes and stuff. And
because he was there many days.
No, he wasn't actually,
okay.
but there he wasn't, but it was sort of like, I was tasked with that. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so Kumail is a big improviser. Ray Romano's an incredible improviser. Mm-hmm. And so there was a lot of people kind of having fun with their dialogue, but then also wanting to try to make a movie that had that looked good and had a certain feel to it. And Barry is takes his work very seriously. And so, he was constantly pushing me and was very much like glued to my side.
Like watching monitor with you.
Oh, he was literally right next to me every second of that shoot.
Okay.
And then, the actors, I mean, look, working with Holly Hunter, working with Kumail, working with Zoe, working with Ray, like these are really serious actors who take their work really seriously. And so it wasn't like every day was just like a big hoot, it was like, it was work. It was for me anyway, it was really hard work, but it was also a great experience. And like, I think felt like we were making a good movie.
What a great director. And what an amazing cast. I have got to rewatch The Big Sick now. Well, not right now. I'll finish this episode first, then right to it. You can hear some other amazing stories on Hollywood Gold. Get it wherever you get your soundcasts. I will be right back with 2 more Jim Dandy Soundcast clips for you, but first, a word from our freeloading, non-paying, completely fake sponsor, Henderson's Pants.
Hello, friend. Bill Haywatt here with some excellent news for those of you caught in wintry climes this season. Henderson's Pants is proud to introduce their new parka pants. For years, people have been protecting their upper bodies with warm, puffy goodness, while their lower extremities had to make do with soggy jeans and steamy, sodden, thermal underwear. No more. Now, when it's time to go out into the frozen tundra that used to be your front yard, just toss on a pair of Henderson's parka pants with nothing more than briefs, boxers, or panties underneath. You're ready to shovel that driveway or make snow angels, keeping toasty warm all the while. Even if it's warm where you live, but you work in a freezing cold office, Parka pants are perfect. That's because, unlike your typical ski jacket, Parka pants feature stylish outer material, ranging from combed cotton and linen to silk and polyester blends, so you can mix and match to go with your sport coats, suit jackets, or blouse. Originally designed for Admiral Perry, Sir Edmund Hillary, and Tenzing Norgay, Henderson's Parka pants are just what you need when you're looking to put some heat in your seat. That's Henderson's, makers of fine pants since 1909, and now back to Succotash.
Thank you, Bill Haywatt. Even as the Soundcast ocean continues to fill with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of shows, I'm amazed at how inventive so many Soundcast creators have gotten at finding that little niche, that undiscovered nugget, if you will, of a subject or fodder for a new Soundcast. And nugget is exactly the right word for this next clip, which comes from a relatively new show. So new, in fact, that they've only got about a dozen episodes dropped at this point, going back to October of last year. The hosts are Dan Rubenstein and Adam Amin. Dan's one of the brains behind the Solid Verbal Media Soundcast Network, and Adam is a sports announcer with Fox Sports. The hook to their show Extra Nuggets is to take categories from old Jeopardy shows and challenge each other to answer them. But it goes way beyond trivia. They only tackle a couple of categories an episode because every answer leads into some extra nuggets of information behind the topic. On a recent drop, one topic was historic planes. See how much of this stuff that you know.
For 400, the F4U Corsair's unusual bent wings helped reduce the aircraft's drag. The wings also folded to save storage space when it operated from these, as it did in the Pacific in both World War II and the Korean War. So the F4U operated from these in the Pacific, both World War II and Korean War. So this plane,
man,
it operated from the base of operations for this plane.
Yeah. Okay. What? Oh God, this is so hard.
It's easier. Don't overthink this. This is an underthink question.
What are hangars?
It's a good underthink.
Okay.
I did. It really is.
This is the point of the show. This is okay. This is what we do. If you're just joining us for the first time, the goal is not to necessarily get all these right. It's to learn something and take a few things away.
Aircraft carrier.
Oh, that makes
all
the
wings
sense in the world,
fold
of
up.
Course. Yes,
for storage. Are you a Top Gun person? Are you a Top Gun Maverick person? I think there was a movie called, was it Battleship with Rihanna?
Sure.
That was all set maybe against aliens. I never saw it. Are you an aircraft carrier guy? As if one could be.
If a plane is coming onto an aircraft carrier and it's like a tight squeeze, I at least want to see how it goes because it seems interesting.
It's so interesting.
It's very interesting.
I had to look up. I looked up the history of aircraft carriers, and it was before World War II. They kind of got invented and started getting used, but not really in war settings. And then in World War II, it was used obviously much more often. And then they made the change from coal fuel to a nuclear reactor and 2 nuclear reactors. Do you know how planes take off from aircraft carriers? I had no idea. You've seen the Top Guns.
From what I understand, that they're like basically slingshotted off the plane, right?
I had no idea. And
That's
that speaks
crazy.
to my ignorance. But it's a dual piston system. They allow a bunch of steam to build up in these giant tanks, and it's powered by the nuclear reactors. And there's a hook that hooks onto the plane. And then when the steam builds up to a certain point, they just let those pistons fire. The hook gets, knocked down or whatever. This is such advanced terminology. I know.
Yeah, very, very, very technically sound. Yes.
They have like 300 feet, whereas like a normal takeoff is like 2,000 feet on a normal runway. They have 300 feet. The pilots are going 4 Gs, and it's literally called a catapult. They're catapulted off of aircraft carriers. I had no concept or clue.
That is wild to me. And I would imagine, I think I've seen this in the past, where when they land on the plane, not just when they're taking off, they're slingshotted or catapulted off, but when they're landing, like you basically have to get like essentially a sling for the plane to fly into, and then it it expands out and eventually stops the plane in its tracks before it reaches the end of the ship.
It's so a hook comes down from the plane that grabs a cable that stretches and brings and slows the plane to like an immediate braking. And in watching the videos and having it explained to me by somebody who was speaking like they were explaining it to a 15-year-old, which is about right for me.
That seems about right for both of us.
My reaction, and I was sitting next to my wife at the time, my reaction was, how cool is that? That makes so much sense. These people.
That is incredible. That's incredible ingenuity right there.
Chances are you're going to come away both entertained and at least mildly educated after even one listen to Extra Nuggets. Check it out wherever. Our final clip for this episode takes a kind of cynical look at the world around us, or at least around host Gianmarco Ceresi. He's a comedian and a lifelong cynic, according to the show's description, and it seems when he brings in a guest who's not a stranger to cynicism, like the amazingly droll Todd Barry, the level of cynicism goes up exponentially. Here the guys are talking about when Todd started out doing stand-up back in Miami.
Is mine a free episode? Or
Yeah, but I wouldn't think of it like, not like you take it, whatever. It's main. You're on the main feed.
Yeah. I'm a loss leader.
If we put this beyond the Patreon, we'd be rolling in cash.
Yeah. You should feel free to do that.
You had a podcast. Did it stop?
It did stop. Without fanfare, it stopped. It kind of just was like,
no emails. Hey, Todd, no new episode this week.
I feel bad because I never really just said, hey, everyone, I need a break from this. I just took the break, and it's been a couple of years now.
Uh-huh.
But I wasn't making any money. And at some point, you're like, I'm just interviewing my friends and people I know a little bit. And then, you do one, then you're like, oh, now I got to do another one.
Uh-huh.
Tell me about I didn't have a setup. You guys have like a real setup. You have a producer. I didn't have, well, I did have a company that put it out. But
that's good.
And they were nice and they were helpful. But I guess it was on me.
How long did you do it for?
Years. A few hundred episodes. I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 I mean, if we didn't have you, Paige, we'd probably be done by now.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a little help, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And she does it all pro bono, completely free.
I was about to ask, is that true?
That is true.
See, I would have said no to this if I knew you were exploiting people.
Well, we're all.
I guess I'm not getting paid then either.
With in exposure.
Yeah, that's true.
You still got that wrestler money. You don't need cash.
How many downloads are we looking at?
Oh God. What with you on it? There will be a bump.
Talking to me like I'm stupid.
The clips on social media. They sometimes get millions.
I'm going to still do this.
How many listeners? I think we got like 5K, between 5K and 10K for like a hot episode.
We did get 60 million views on the podcast videos last year. So.
60 million?
Yes.
Yeah.
If that counts as anything.
And that's worth like 2 ticket sales on the road. Believe you me. We get one pod fan every show.
Yeah.
So Todd, you grew up in Florida. You were born?
No, I was born in the Bronx.
Born in the Bronx.
Yeah.
But moved to Florida
when I was 8.
And did you like Florida?
I can't say I liked it really. I mean,
who can?
Yeah, I mean, I lived in the kind of boring suburbs, and yeah, I mean, and who knows if I would have liked New York? It might have been my own makeup as a human being that made me not like it. What do you think of that?
I agree. I went to the University of Miami.
Oh, you did?
And it was a huge mistake. Gigantic mistake.
Why is that?
Well, I went for musical theater, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
But that's a separate thing. I think when I visited Miami, you're on vacation. It's warm.
Right.
There's palm trees. And then you go there and you're like, oh, this is not who I am. 2 times a year, sure. Some nice warm weather, but I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sunny.
Yeah, I never went to the beach.
I went to the beach in the course of 4 years. I went to the beach three times.
I was always like, where's your tan, pale guy?
Who is this? Your parents?
No, I don't know. I was just doing the generic dumb voice. I started comedy in North Miami Beach. Not to make it about me, but
no, it's fine.
I am the guest on your show.
And these were there's this the comic strip.
No, this was a place called Coconuts.
Coconuts.
It was in a Howard Johnson's hotel.
And how was that club?
It was good. I mean, this was, I've told this story so many times, but I'll say it again. No, it was during the comedy boom of the late 80s. Do you know about the comedy boom?
I've heard about it. I've never fully grasped how fantastic it was compared to now.
Well, it was my first open mic night, I went on for like 100 people who were pumped. I didn't go on at a bar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't pumped to see me. They were pumped for comedy in general. So the way they did it was they would have their headliner show, like the headliner would come in Tuesday through Sunday or something like that. And then on like Sunday, they would have open mic, then the feature act, the middle act, and then the headliner. So they'd have open micers to part of the regular show.
Yeah.
And people were just like, and these comics were not famous for the most part. And so they would just come to see, like, it was comedy. And there was like all these one-nighters, just like, someone would go into a bar and like, hey, when's your slow night? Tuesday? I'll bring in 3 comedians and get me a shitty PA. And
were you making good money during this boom? I mean, you just started, I guess.
No, I wasn't getting good money, but the fact that I was getting some money, like my first year in.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. So it was, what was your question?
There's a taste of the downside, which you can find everywhere around the interwebs. Incidentally, we clipped the very first episode of Todd Barry's late lamented soundcast, The Todd Barry Show, 10 years ago, way back in April of 2013. If you want to dip back into the archives at succotashshow.com and have a listen. So that is what I would call my February foursome of clips. Since Tyson Sainer will be here next week with his show, and I will be back the week after that with an interview I've just recorded with Josh Gilliland, co-host of the Legal Geek Soundcast, I likely won't have more clips for you in this relatively short month. What I do have for you right now is a quick dip into the tweet sack, Atta-bird, Tweety, where we collect up all the names of the folks who have tossed our @Succotash Show handle into their socials. At least I try to get to everybody. If you mentioned us and I missed you, please let me know at marc@succotashshow.com. That's marc@succotashshow.com. And I'll do a make good for you in an upcoming episode. In the meantime, here's those that we do have to thank for throwing our handle around. The Jock Doc Podcast and Dr. London Smith. Kind of one and the same, but not really. And my guest on the show just a couple of weeks back. Hi, Doc. Monster Party, of course. Let's Chat Podcast. Zombie Bacterium, a.k.a. Hunter Block. Monica Homburg. Cassie Walker. Glowpunk. Lily Holloman. Hi, Lily. E_Royd. Phil Lernis. Hi, Phil. The D-Head Factor. Hi, Jabs. Science Comedian. Hi, Brian. Versionary 1. Never Explain Anything. Different Way Games. Cranky Mom of 6. G Movie Man. Marie Matthews. Mark Freisner. Audio Master. Salty Language Podcast. I Shake My Head with Lisa and Sam. Dave in the Cave. Rose Spiznoggle. My favorite name this week. Rose Spiznoggle. Thanks for mentioning this. Washed Up Goalie. Baxter Forest Twilight. And Karishka. There's your tweet sack. Before that was the clips. Was the clips? Were the clips. I think that's right. Anyway, I have fulfilled my Soundcast obligation for another episode to you, the listener. And thanks for listening, by the way. Remember, now that we're going to stop trying to get you to Venmo us money, it just plain didn't work, we're going to go back to beating the bushes for real live sponsors with paid commercials. Maybe we'll even manage to strong-arm some bucks out of old man Henderson for those pants commercials. Who knows? What I do know is that Tyson Sainer will be here in this same feed next week with episode 343 and some entertainments for you. So grab yourself some of that, and if by chance you're flying high over American soil, somehow having found yourself attached to a Chinese spy balloon, and an Air Force fighter jet scrambles by and the pilot yells out of the cockpit at Mach 2, "Have you heard anything good lately?" Won't you please pass him the succotash?
You've been listening to Succotash, the comedy soundcast, with your host, Mark Hershon. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants and...
Imagine your company's name right here.
Rate us and review us at Apple and Google Podcasts. Find us on the web at succotashshow.com, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, on YouTube,
on SoundCloud,
and wherever fine soundcasts are streamed and or downloaded. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Succotash Show. Like us on Facebook. Email us at marc@succotashshow.com. Or call into the Succotash Skype line at our toll call number 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/succotash. Succotash is produced and engineered by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, the home of the hit. Our hosts are Mark Hershon and Tyson Sainer. Our musical director is
Scott Carvey.
Our booth assistant is
Kenny Durges.
Succotash is executive produced by Mark Hershon. Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye. This has been a Succotash Patch production.